What's that, 3.6 seconds up there?
Well, they better do something fast. Yeah.
They called the timeout.
Here we go.
The rookie kicker, Sandro DeAngelis, dead on from that range, and he's dead center. What a victory. And the Calgary Stampeders move up a notch in the standings.
That was a big win for the Stamps. Nick Lewis led all receivers in that football game with 115 yards through the air. His second 100-yard game of the season. He's sitting in 4th place in the entire CFL in receiving yardage, right behind his teammate Jermaine Copeland. So a great start for the sophomore Nick Lewis. Or is it Nick Lewis?
Well, he's a character. He has a lot of fun playing a game and stirs things up. He isn't lacking for confidence in his own ability, and he'll tell you about it.
Henry Burris back to pass. Spots Nick Lewis open on the slant, and Lewis will score. Check that. It's Lewis's alter ego, Geronimo Jones, that scores for Calgary.
When it comes to me going to work and putting on the mask of Geronimo, I'm pretty intense. I'm high-strung.
They keep playing man-to-man, they're going to get burnt.
I never know what I'm going to do. I never know what I'm going to say.
I plan on scoring about 2 or 3 myself. I know Coach going to get about 2 in, 2 or 3. Rambo, he playing good. He might get about 1 or 2.
There's a cockiness to Geronimo, which I don't have off the field. You know, I don't think I'm better than anybody else off the field, and you know, I don't portray myself that way.
By creating this character, again, it almost legitimizes Nick's ability to go there and you know, talk a little bit of trash and get in people's faces. And you want, as an athlete, to be extremely self-confident. And again, I think that, you know, that's what this alter ego provides.
I don't want you to think that he's crazy or psycho or anything like that. I don't want nobody to think anything like that. It's just a nickname that we gave Nick Lewis on the field, because once he gets on the field between the lines of scrimmage, he's a total different person than what he is off the field.
I'm still trying to figure out, is it Nick or is it Geronimo that's a 3.73 student at Southern Arkansas, or who it is? Me personally, I believe Geronimo is nothing but a puppet or a pet like Chucky or something like that.
Well, Nick Lewis off the field, wow.
For some reason, he always double clutches whenever, you know, he does like a double take, you know, whenever I say, Nick, you know, I always have to say it 2 times.
He's crazy like a fox is what he is. He's created this alter ego that allows him to play a particular role on the field.
Geronimo is as wild as it gets. There's nothing else. It's Nick and Geronimo.
Well, for the analysis, let's start with the guy who brought Nick or Geronimo into the CFL. That would be you.
Hey, I could be his publicist, Dave. I got a lot to say about Nick Lewis, and it's all good. Let's first start off with his unusual-sized hands. Schultz, I got big hands, and you got big mitts as a big man, right? I come up to that on Schultz. When I come up to Nick Lewis, I'm about there. That's how big his Sasquatch hands are, and that is incredible for a receiver. And you put his body size and his parts together, and it's like God had all these extra pieces, and you put him to Nick Lewis, and he's got huge legs, he's got thick upper body, he's a big bone kid, he gets a lot of yards after the catch. I love this kid, and I like what he brings to the table. Not only is it a great attitude, which we see just about every time on the football field, Nick Lewis says that, we always talk about it, guys, how he's showboating in the cameras. He says, hell, no, the cameras, I don't find the cameras find me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you know, I talked to him today, Jocko, and that's what he's talking about. And the crazy thing is,
find a way to
justify it, I guess. Jermaine Copeland is his roommate while they're on the road, so he's getting tutored, and his dance lessons are coming straight from the master, and it's a great combination because Nick Lewis has really learned from Jermaine, and to me, it's a great combination. A good young receiver that's certainly not having a drop-off on a sophomore season. He's playing great football.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both those receivers. I'm not a big fan of their on-field antics. I mean, you guys remember the way I played.
Gotta have fun.
Yeah, hey, I'm all for that. And the fans, one thing the fans do, the fans love that stuff. I know there's guys out there, because we've talked about it, that aren't a big fan of the sort of the antics and the jumping up and down and dancing, but hey, whatever works. And the one thing that does work for Nick Lewis is his yards after the catch. And this is one of the reasons I've become such a big fan of his. Not just his reliability in terms of catching the football, but I think he is developing into the best receiver after he's caught the football. And it's got to do with that upper body strength that Matt was talking about. And I think it also has to do with the size of his hands. You know, guys, when I played, I always fumbled the football when I tried to make a second or third guy miss. And lots of receivers have that problem. He's only had one fumble on the year, and he's constantly given that extra effort, and I think he's a great one for that reason.
Well, he is. I mean, but the Nick Lewises, the Jermaine Copelands, and the Kenyon Rambos, those are known commodities. They're expected to perform. But the guy that's impressed me is University of Alberta's Brett Ralph. I mean, this kid is 5'10", he's 175, and he's come out of nowhere to make a contribution. And this is so significant because basically there's 40 players on your team. Coaches evaluate these players 1 through 40, 1 being the most important, 40 being the guy that, well, he's the least important. Probably when Brett Ralph started this football season, he was, 33, 34, 35. I think he'd be down to like 24, 25, and in that area, he's made a major contribution as a 4th or 5th receiver.
Brett's brother, by the way, Brock, who had 600 yards plus for the Eskimos last season, still hanging in there with the New York Jets, has caught 1 ball for 9 yards in the preseason. We'll see if he gets into the game Friday night against the New York Giants. Back to the Stampeders, kind of a good news, bad news situation for them so far this season. The good news is they have 4 wins in 8 games. They had 4 wins all of last season. The bad news is they've been win-loss, win-loss. They haven't been able to string 2 wins together, and if that pattern stays true tonight, they're due for a loss. They'd love to make it back-to-back wins for the first time in a while, and they're going to have a tough challenge against the Grey Cup champs, and they're also going to be challenged by the thing that challenges all teams, injuries.
Injuries, and injuries also mean consistency. Last week against Montreal, 3 brand new defensive backs that kind of held their own. I would have given them a passing grade. Yes, Anthony Calvillo had a heck of a day, but I gave him a passing grade. This week, they don't have Demetrius Maxey, but they need more Godfrey Ellis type of players. That's the kid who was the left tackle, is now the center. When you can find players out of nowhere, unexpected talent that fill in and play as well as the starters, that enhances your football team and gives you the one thing: confidence and consistency.
Well, Schultz, you talk about injuries. Dave, you mentioned win-loss, win-loss. The Calgary Stampeders going back and forth. And I know, Jock, you mentioned earlier turnovers. And to me, that's the difference of this football team. When they protect the football, they simply get it done. Last week against Montreal, they protected it, and they won a close one, 40-37. You look at their 4 wins, they're +2 in giveaway takeaway. Their 4 losses, -12. To me, that tells the complete story of the Calgary Stampeders. A very talented football team that is trying to find themselves, and they have to do it by taking care of the football. And tonight, that's extremely important against the Toronto Argonaut defense. You don't want to force the issue against that football team.
Well, this is a football team I think is on the verge of really breaking out and challenging for top spot in the West. I mean, they're that good, but there's a reason why they're playing inconsistent football, and they're still making too many mistakes. And I hate to bring this down and be negative, but you have to sometimes show some of the things this football team is not doing well. And last week was an example, in my opinion. Late in the game, the Calgary Stampeders needed to keep the ball. They went for it on 3rd and 2. Okay, 3rd and 2, pretty gutsy call. That's one thing. But here what they're trying to do is run the ball to Dybert. And I know what they're doing. They want Reynolds here to act as a decoy. But you know what? This is the Alouette defense. They're not going to fall for that. And Dybert, who hadn't touched the ball all game and barely runs the ball all season, got nothing. And they've got to clean up those sorts of calls before they are going to. Look at these guys.
Who is he, Manny?
Negative.
I am negative.
Negative man.
Captain
I am Captain Negative.
I will bring you down.
Sometimes you've got to just have a dose of reality.
65 plays in the game, you pick out 1 play and bust.
Who else is going to do it if I don't do it?
Yeah, good call.
Well, that's because he is Negative man. And on that note, we will go to break. Negatively. And Joffrey Reynolds had 107 yards against the Argos in their Week 2 meeting, their season opener. See what he has up his sleeve tonight. Jocko.
The halfway mark of the season tonight at Rogers Center. Roof open on a beautiful night. And a temperature of 23 degrees Celsius. There are our conditions. A game so anticipated, they actually moved it up a day in the schedule. Tom Higgins' crew looking for consecutive wins for the first time in Calgary since early 2003. Short week for both coaches. Pinball Clemens Argonauts have been through this before and successful, and a win tonight here would give them sole possession of first place in the East. And Glenn, both teams coming off impressive wins when you consider where they posted those victories.
Absolutely. Both teams in hostile territory a week ago. The Toronto Argonauts beating Edmonton in Commonwealth Stadium. Of course, Calgary staying in the East after a big win versus the Montreal Alouettes. So both teams playing with a lot of confidence right now. Something's got to give.
Noel Prefontaine gets things underway. Tony Stallings with the kick return for the Stampeders. And he'll bring it up to the 35-yard line. Well, we've mentioned Henry Burris has caught fire 5 straight 300-yard games. He's the offensive player of the week.
Yeah, Joffrey Reynolds will run the ball behind him. 389 yards in 3 games versus the Argos for Reynolds. Lewis and Copeland, the leading receivers inside for Henry Burris. And there's the offensive line. Godfrey Ellis, one more start at center for Jamie Crysdale.
The starting lineups brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. They'll swing it out on the first play of the game. Kenyon Rambo reaching out to the 40, close to 5.
Defensive line for the Toronto Argonauts have 5 sacks total, 3 from Jonathan Brown on the outside of that 34 defense. There's the 30 and there's the 4. Kevin Ivan leads that pack, on pace for 126 tackles, which is higher than his total from a year ago, which led the CFL. And a veteran secondary led by the quarterback of that group, Orlando Steinauer, at safety.
8th against the run, 7th against the pass, yet they're the 3rd stingiest defense in allowing points in the CFL. Burris had some trouble and now takes off. A little tentative, does dive forward. He'll be close to the first down. The message yesterday was from Henry Burris was how decisive he's been of late. That time it looked like the Argo defense didn't allow him to make the quick decision.
Well, he has made good decisions, and you're right. The Argo defense, because they're a veteran unit, Chris, will change things up in a hurry. So you can see how Henry Burris had to pull the ball down a couple of times. But this is what he's done well of late. Rather than force the ball down the field, he puts it under his arm, takes off. He had 96 yards rushing versus Montreal because he made good decisions.
Pinball Clemens says he has an off-the-charts personality. Takes one to know one, I guess, but he does.
Well, a dynamic player, both on and off the field, and one you can really build a franchise around. You mentioned 5 straight games over 300 yards. Henry Burris with the 327 you just saw. Coming off a game versus BC in a losing effort at 421. So Henry Burris is starting to get in that zone, get in that groove, and put up some big numbers.
Mr. Negativity didn't like the gamble last week against Montreal. Here, it's less than a yard and probably the right call.
Gotta go.
Burris waits till it's signaled in. And now he'll follow behind the right guard. Taylor Robertson for the first down. I asked Tom Higgins about that gamble last week, and he'd do it again. He wanted the play kicked outside. He thought there were a lot of yards outside. There weren't enough inside for Scott Dybert.
Well, I think anytime you get to a yard or less, or right in that area, you've got to have confidence in your offensive line to go ahead and get that first down, especially when the D-line has to line up a yard away.
So a first down for the Stampeders at their 47, and hit in the backfield, Joffrey Reynolds. Michael Fletcher, who comes into the game as one of the top tacklers in the league, tied for second, meets up with Reynolds in a hurry.
Yeah, and this is where Michael Fletcher, now you talk about the Toronto Argonauts being a little susceptible to the run. Well, if you catch that running game in a stunt or a blitz from the linebacking core, now you got him for a loss, and that's what happens with Michael Fletcher. He's in a stunt, he's coming on that stunt, and he gets in the backfield in a hurry.
Defensive player for the month of July hands Joffrey Reynolds and the Stampeders a loss of 4. It's 2nd and 14. Burris on a roll, pumped once, and then has to throw it away. So twice he's wanted to throw, and twice he hasn't been able to find a receiver.
Yeah, and that's another good example of Henry Burris' decision making. And he rolls all the way from one hash mark all the way to the opposite side of the field. That's the far hash mark, and as he rolls to his right, first receiver not there, second receiver not there. Try to pump fake, no, it's too risky. Throw it away, put the punt team on the field. 0 interceptions for Henry Burris versus Montreal.
Burke Dales, the native of Collingwood. In the punt, Bashar Livingston awaits. He's been awfully quiet. Bashar Livingston, 42 yards, the longest punt return of the year. He'll start from his 19. Randy Chevrier can't track him down, but the Stampeders rally to the football well, and Livingston gets only 3 on the return. A 47-yard punt by Dales. Well, it's a barometer of Damon Allen's season. He throws for 329 yards, 3 touchdowns, wins in Edmonton, and it's just a so-so day.
Yeah, it really is amazing what Damon Allen has done. You look at the receiving core, and that's probably one of the main reasons for it, with Baker and Bruce inside. Arland Bruce leading the team receiving yardage, and some changes up front again. Mike Mihalik back at guard. Dave Costa back out at tackle.
Andre Prue's officiating crew called a holding penalty against the Argos on the Livingston punt return, so Toronto starts at the 10, and Tony Miles has a catch and will duck out at the 25, and a first down on the initial toss from Allen.
Well, the injury bug has hit the Calgary defense, and big loss up front. Demetrius Maxey out of the lineup, and Terrence Patrick has big shoes to fill. The linebacking core remains the same, led by Brian Clark, John Grace in the middle, and then the secondary, all kinds of changes back there. Shane Walton in at halfback, Kobe Reinhardt in for Ben Kelly, and Nate Terry out at the corner.
Walton out of Notre Dame had an interception last week. John Avery with a carry, and Raheem Abdullah with the tackle. And you heard how Abdullah is going to be a center of attention in this game tonight.
Yeah, and Abdullah and both Robert Baker in week 2 for the Toronto Argonauts at their run-in, and some words have gone back and forth over the last 48 hours.
An alleged spitting incident that was never found on videotape. There was no disciplinary action against Abdullah. Allen over the middle. There's a catch. J.F. Tremblay in his 2nd game of the year. A kid out of Laval that the Argos think so highly of, but has been plagued throughout his university and early pro career with hamstring problems, makes the catch.
Well, another great Canadian talent for the Argonauts when you throw Andre Talbot into the mix, and then you have J.F. Tremblay to go to as your 5th or 6th receiver. It just gives Damon Allen some more weapons, and tell this receiving corps, and especially the Canadian receivers, gaining confidence with every game and every catch.
First down, Allen. Look for Tremblay again. And this time he cannot bring it in. 1 game last year, 4 catches, but most of the season wiped out because of a hamstring. He missed a whole year of university play because of a hamstring problem. And they were starting to worry that maybe it just never was going to happen. And yet at training camp last year, many of the Argos staff felt he was their best athlete. That's how highly they think of him.
Well, and if he can pick up his game and be consistent with it, keeps him on the roster, and R.J. Soward off.
2nd and 10. Allen slings it. There's Andre Talbot. Came back to the ball. Let's see where his forward progress will be marked. Kobe Reinhardt with the tackle. And it looks like Talbot got enough for the first down. And the Stampeders don't like the spot.
We had a great feature on Andre Talbot in the pregame show, and guys talking about his contribution. 27 catches coming into the game for 381 yards and a touchdown. And I believe, Chris, and you mentioned it in your last game here, that he's had 1 drop in a catchable football this season in 8 games.
Interesting comments from Jock Climby about the culture and how what's really rewarding for him is acceptance with the rest of the receiving corps. Tony Miles with a catch. Gets to midfield and has 6 as they deploy Miles out of the backfield.
It's a different dynamic, Chris, and there's another one of those import receivers that you talked about, Tony Miles, who had to take Andre Talbot a little bit under his arm, and they were joking about their fashion taste, type of clothes they wear in the pregame show, which was quite interesting. But you got to fit in, and Andre Talbot has done a nice job, not just with the receiving corps, but with his quarterback.
I look for that suitor look myself. But 2nd and 4 for the Argos at midfield. Allen, quarterback drive. It's wide open. And David Allen fumbles the ball. Stamp looked like they're on it. Sheen Walton, I believe, got to it first. And so David Allen has coughed it up. Stamp ball when we come back. Well, these two are expected to go head-to-head perhaps tonight with more on their rivalry. Here's John Liu.
Well, guys, the next chapter in this incident took place at yesterday's walkthrough with Robert Baker, promising payback within the rules of the game if he got the opportunity. Now, Raheem Abdullah was not at yesterday's walkthrough because of a migraine, but when I caught up to him today and told him about Baker's comments, he said that if he knew that Baker was talking smack, he would have come down here, headache and all. Now, as for Abdullah's reaction, he was having fun with Baker's comments, calling him a cowardly wide receiver, a liar, a punk, and a couple other names I can't repeat in a family telecast. But the bottom line is Abdullah is hoping that Baker will take himself out of the game by being preoccupied with thoughts of revenge. Back to you guys.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is a slippery slope for Robert Baker. Not so much for Abdullah, who's just going to go after the passer, but you don't want to mentally start thinking about a personal agenda from the receiver position.
Damon Allen's 4th lost fumble of the year sets up the Stampeders at their own 38-yard line. Reynolds, Joffrey Reynolds, met up early and has only 3 on his second carry.
If I could elaborate just a bit on that, Robert Baker, and if he starts to think about that personal agenda, here's how Robert Baker started the season. 103 yards, big game for him in game 1. Game 2, he has the fight with his teammate and the Raheem Abdullah incident. The next 2 games he plays, the numbers drop way off. In the last 4, he's come back. They put that behind him, the Toronto Argonauts, and have moved forward. He can't slip back into that again or it could affect his game.
2nd and 7, Stamps. Reynolds out of the backfield over the middle, looking for Rambo, incomplete, and Orlando Steinauer read the play beautifully.
Occasionally, it's good to overthrow a pass, because if Henry Burris puts that on the money, it's going the other way with Orlando Steinauer, the quarterback of that defense, along with Michael O'Shea. And Steinauer makes all the adjustments back there in the secondary, knows the defense as well as his coordinator, Rich Stubler, just to the right of your screen, and watch the jump he will get on this football as Burris overthrows the target, or 21's going the opposite direction.
Yeah, that coverage doesn't get any tighter. Burke Dales has to punt it away. Livingston lets it hit the carpet. Sidesteps one and found a crease. There's Bashar Livingston doing what he does best. Like Juhas pulls him down at the 50. That's a 20-yard return. In the opening quarter here at Rogers Center. And we are still scoreless.
Robert Baker wants to get a hit on Raheem Abdullah. It may be difficult considering the positions you play. There's Raheem Abdullah right there, and way out to the right of that screen is Robert Baker.
At the 50-yard line, the Argos started. John Avery with a big gain, a first down carry, and an abrupt end as Trey Young levels the Argo running back.
You see Trey Young step into that hit. Now, John Avery was being held while he got the hit, so he had a little bit of help from his teammates, but Trey Young is the guy who caused the fumble, Damon Allen, on the last series, and Trey Young stepping up and making a pretty good hit right there on John Avery.
Avery with 12 there. He had only 14 yards rushing in the first meeting between these two teams. Allen underneath. There's Robert Baker. Baker shook a tackle and gets outside. And brought down at the 43-yard line. I was looking for Abdullah, but
yeah. Well, you know, the one thing is Raheem Abdullah, wherever Baker catches the ball, can always hustle and get to him to try and make that extra hit. It's tougher for Baker. Now, there is a play that slot backs can come down. It's basically called a crack block, where the slot back can come in motion on the play and come and crack on a defensive lineman to get a running back like John Avery outside.
And he actually was called on that play last week and penalized for an illegal crackback block. And Robert Baker has been injured on that play and is going to require attention.
looks like he's walking off all right. We'll take a look at the tackle. He got twisted around a little bit. Scott Coe involved. And there's Kobe Reinhardt. Looks like Robert Baker will be okay, but the training staff is out there, so he has to wait at least 3 plays.
Baker's a tough guy. He does like talking trash, but he can back it up with some pretty spectacular play, and none better than his touchdown against the Eskimos last week that went for 90 yards and a memorable yards after carry, or yards after the catch. Second down. Allen underneath, and Arlen Bruce was well covered on the play. Anthony Malbrough, the only man who has started each game in the Calgary secondary. Tight coverage.
Well, that's when you talk about Robert Baker and his big playability, Chris, and that's exactly why they don't want him to slip into this personal agenda thing. Because when you have a receiver that can do what he can do, this is a 5-yard crossing route to Robert Baker against the Eskimos. Look at this. I mean, that's a playmaker. That's a guy who can make things happen with the football, and they don't want to lose him. They lost him mentally for a couple of games after the incident. They don't want to lose him again. They certainly don't want to lose him to injury, but it looks like he's walking that off right now.
And Noel Prefontaine has come in to attempt a 51-yard field goal. He hit a 50-yarder in the last home game. 51 would match a career high, and this one's going to bang off the upright. A dead ball. That close. Well, he's only missed 3 this year, and they've come from 46, 51, and 60. So you can excuse him on at least 2 of those 3. Here's Reynolds, big hole. Joffrey Reynolds finally finds a little running room.
Well, you saw when Michael Fletcher made that tackle early on in this game on Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield. He got caught in the perfect spot that time right into the stunt. This is the downside of a stunting 34 defense, and when Joffrey Reynolds, who's right there, the tailback spot, hits the hole, he catches the Toronto Argonauts in that stunt going the opposite direction. That's why it opens up, and it's Steinauer who has to save the touchdown.
23 yards for Reynolds. He had 81 in last week's victory in Montreal. First down, Burris, open man. Gerald Harris the catch in Argo territory. Eased out by Jordan Younger at the Toronto 49.
Eric England on that play, Chris, had his jersey up around his shoulder pad with his hands in the air, and there is a flag on the field. And all you have to do is look at a defensive lineman who has been disrobed, and you can probably get an idea of what the call will be.
And Eric England coming off the big game. We've got all the players of the week.
Holding Calgary 61. 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
Godfrey Ellis gets called on the holding, and pretty safe to say it was Godfrey Ellis working one-on-one on Eric England.
Eric England, the lineman of the week, had an interception picked off Ricky Ray in that victory by the Argonauts at Commonwealth. So instead of a first down in Toronto territory, first and 20, there's Brock Ralph. Pretty shifty move there to get to the 45. The young kid out of Raymond, Alberta, with his first CFL touchdown last week at Percival Molson Stadium.
Well, you know, he reminds me a little of Andre Talbot, although he's arrived at that level a lot quicker. And Brett Ralph, who had the big game against Montreal, is approaching 400 yards on the season and 18 receptions coming into this game. The big touchdown versus the Alouettes.
What they love about Ralph early, his average catch prior to that 5-yarder, 19.4. Of course, he beefed it up with that touchdown catch last week. 2nd and 15. Burris steps up, gets it away, looks deep for Harris, and He's center field. Got his hand on it.
Well, two things here. One, Henry Burrs had to put a lot of air on that football because of the coverage downfield in the one-on-one. That gave Steinauer, who was all the way over to the other hash, a couple more seconds to get there. Henry Burrs, he's going to take a look. Now, he's got to put some air under this football to get it to Lewis. You can see Jordan Younger, because he's in chase, that's why Burrs has to throw it that way, and there's Steinauer, who came from a long way away.
Orlando still looking for his first interception of the year. 37 in his career. Good high punt by Dales, and it just bounced in play. Livingston has to go back and grab it at the 6-yard line. There'll be no yards penalties. We'll sort it out when we come back. The officials still sorting out the no yards. There might have been some interference on Livingston that Andre Prue's crew is dealing with. Adrian Smith was in the midst of it, vehemently arguing the Argonauts case.
There is no infraction on the play. Calgary 28 was pushed into the 5-yard zone, so therefore no infraction. First down.
And my guess is that Adrian Smith was the man who pushed him.
That's right.
Because he was heated up about the call, and it means the Argos are backed up at their 8-yard line.
First and 10 Argonauts.
Well, it was the big plays last week. Damon Allen just 11 completions, but he had a 90, an 89-yarder, and when they were backed up deep late in the game, he got a 46-yard completion to Tony Miles to get them out of trouble. He goes to Miles here and should have a first down. Miles ducked back, but now at the 23, we'll have a first down.
Well, Chris, this is the type of position in the field where you want a good running game, and the Toronto Argonauts just have not had a good running game. In fact, they barely had any running game this year. You look at their rush yards per game, it's at 54, dead last, and a lot of criticism pointed in the direction of John Avery, and an interesting signing of late.
Yes.
May change things in that department.
First down at the 23. Here's Avery. Cut back, tripped up at the 26. He has 3, and you wonder if John Avery's feeling a little heat with a new addition to the backfield.
Well, certainly in the short term, John Avery is looking at Sean Millington, who has come out of retirement to join the Toronto Argonauts and come off the panel with the CBC crew. Who knows, maybe calling the game there on the field. But Sean Millington in a 2-back offense can help this running game for the Toronto Argonauts.
2nd and 7. Allen to pass. He's got Robert Baker open and overthrows the intended receiver.
You know, Sean Millington for years was sort of classified as a fullback and tried to break out of that. Entered the league with the Edmonton Eskimos. Tremendous career in Winnipeg with the BC Lions when he and Corey Philpott were thunder and lightning. There's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in his time there. And Millington became a feature back. In fact, in a game against Saskatchewan, had over 200 yards. His name's still in the record book. So together with John Avery in the short term, the running game could be improved.
Well, he's just exclusively special teams tonight. Looks like he's cramped up in the early going. Kenyon Rambo accepting the Prefontaine punt. And up at the 41-yard line. A 50-yard boot by Prefontaine.
Well, you see Sean Millington.
He's in announcer shape. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just wondering. He said he's been working out for quite some time because he's been pondering this move. But he's over there after not even a half a football, getting stretched out. And, you know, because the workouts change when you go from player to announcer. I mean, you spend a lot less time in the gym and more in the sauna. And it's quite a different workout regime. So hopefully Sean Millington knows what he's doing.
First down Stamps. Burris trying to kickstart this offense, and he finds Brett Ralph. And Ralph with a catch to the 50 has 9.
right now the Toronto Argonauts defensively are doing what has been their staple for a couple of years now, and that's to make offenses be patient. Mike Clemens will take these hitch passes all game long from Henry Burris, and he'll see if Henry Burris will stick with it. The whole premise for the Toronto Argonauts is we will have from the 20 to the 20, get as many yards as you want, throw as many hitch passes and quick unders and quick ins that you want. That's Rich Stubler's theory on defense. But as soon as you get inside the 20, we'll lock you down.
Yeah, they win last week despite giving up a season-high 483 yards. Second and a yard or so. And there are flags on the play. So let's find out what the officials have. Nick Lewis signaling the Argos jumped offside.
Well, this will be the type of thing that Henry Burris will be faced with most of the game, and that's getting 5 on first down, getting 4 on second.
Toronto defensive line. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Basically, the entire line was offside, lined up offside, but Burris is going to have to be patient. Can he be patient the entire game?
Time's run out in this first quarter, but it can't end with the penalty. So one more play for the Stampeders from midfield. Reynolds, the draw play, and he'll have 3. So a quiet offensive first quarter of football. First quarter stats brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
Well, it's been all defense in that first quarter. Just 5 first downs per team. Not a lot of yardage put on the board. 1 turnover from Damon Allen on a fumble. Calgary Stampeders have that turnover, and 2 confident teams right now are in a defensive struggle.
Calgary looking at 2nd and 7, just inside Argo territory. And Burris looking for Brett Ralph. And it's incomplete. Jordan Younger was in coverage. And now that we're into the second quarter, no points yet. The question begs to be asked. A short week for both teams. Advantage defense?
Well, you know, I think it is a little bit because defense generally can stick with their normal game plan, their normal philosophy that they have all season long. Offenses are always game planning for that week and adding new plays. On a short week, they can't do a lot of that. So I think the defense does have the advantage.
Ken Austin was saying he began preparations for this game the day prior to the Edmonton game and really hasn't had much sleep since the Saturday night tilt at Commonwealth Stadium. Dale's punting it away and not his best. Bouncing around in there. And finally picked up. And a no yards call after that 32-yarder. Well, this week, it's a doubleheader on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Coverage begins with Winnipeg and Hamilton, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific, followed by Montreal in Edmonton on your full-service CFL network.
You know, and that's an important game for, look at that Winnipeg-Hamilton game for both teams. Winnipeg is back in the fight. Hamilton looking for that first win desperately, and they're starting to make changes. First on their defense, and Jesse Lumsden released the Seattle Seahawks, and should be a Ticat very soon. I know they'd love to have him.
Yeah, we all wanted him to do well.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating he'd never got a shot. Injured, and then when he was ready to go, they didn't use him in the preseason game. But it would be nice to see him playing in Ticat colors.
Hey, Chris, the politics that goes on, you'd need another full show to go into it, and often very good football players don't get a good look because of where they line up in the depth chart.
And if you don't believe that, just ask a lot of players on the field tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely, who probably could and should be playing in the National Football League, and you know, basically.
Offside. Calgary number 60. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Randy Chevrier, who was in the New York Jet camp last year, called on the offside. So the Argos get a first down over. 1st and 5 from the Toronto 29. And Here's a former first-rounder in the National Football League, John Avery, who looks like he's got a little giddy-up tonight. Had a 12-yard run earlier and runs for a first down with that carry.
Well, clearly, physically, John Avery is back to the John Avery of the Edmonton Eskimos when he was the leading rusher in the CFL. I mean, you look at John Avery's quickness and his ability to change directions. You can tell physically he's back, and now he just needs to be in a regular groove in that offense.
12 yards there. He needs carries. Right now, he's behind 6 quarterbacks in the rushing derby. Allen will roll. Throws back across the grain, and Baker separated from the football. And the Stampeders say they're on it, and they do come up with the ball. Jeremy Southern, in for the injured Demetrius Maxey, has the recovery. Well, the Toronto Argonauts yesterday announced a major initiative in the community. With more, here's John Liu.
Well, yes, guys, the Toronto Argonauts doing their part to try to stem the tide of gun violence in the city of Toronto. Argos President Keith Belly with me now to talk about this campaign. Keith?
Well, there's no question that we're all concerned, just like everybody that's watching, everybody that's here. We're concerned about what has transpired in Toronto, and we're trying to do our part. We obviously have some players that have experienced violence and gangs and guns in their previous lives before coming to Toronto, and they want to be the ultimate role model for today's youth. Combined with, we want to raise some dollars to create some sports programs, create some community programs to try to get our kids off the streets.
Now, Keith, I understand this isn't just the Argos involvement. This is an invitation to other sports teams in Toronto, other organizations in the corporate community to try to pitch in, right?
Well, there's no question it's a very comprehensive campaign, and it's still in the infancy stages. And although it is an Argonaut initiative at this particular time, the response that we've had in a day has been simply overwhelming. And yeah, we're asking the corporate community, business leaders. In fact, John Tory tonight raised $13,000 at a dinner and for Stop the Violence. So I encourage everybody to go to stoptheviolence.ca. It's a new website. We want everybody to get involved, other sports teams, to certainly fight this problem that's certainly become prevalent in our city.
Hey, thank you very much for this, Keith. Best of luck with this very worthy initiative.
Thanks very much, Trevor.
Thank you. Take care.
Well, the Argos certainly community leaders. They've had the Stop Bullying program where Argos have visited so many schools in this area over the last few years, and now another program which will include practices in neighborhood parks for the Argos over the next few weeks. So Calgary takes over the football. Burris outlets. Here's Rambo, who had a touchdown in the first meeting between these teams, close to a first down.
You know, and it is a good point, maybe something that's not talked about enough, but the Toronto Argonauts, along with all the teams in the Canadian Football League, do a whole bunch in the community that people maybe don't talk enough about. The Argos, for example, last offseason, 300 different appearances from the players. They want to try and double that. Got to talk to probably 20,000 kids in the local area. They want to double that and get it to 40,000 this offseason.
First down, Reynolds slips outside, got by Riel Johnson, still going, and more outside yardage. The straight arm on Adrian Smith, and finally Jonathan Brown has to haul him down at the 17.
You talk about Joffrey Reynolds and whether or not he's bounced back from the burner problem he's had over the last couple of games. It looks to me like he's bounced back, because a couple of times here, Joffrey Reynolds could have taken that hit and gone down there. He could have taken a hit there, could have run out of bounds when Adrian Smith was there, and he kept fighting for yards. There's still a ton of heart and a ton of courage in Joffrey Reynolds. It seems that getting the odd burner or stinger is not going to slow him down one bit.
And they'll tack on a penalty against Toronto as well.
Foul. Face mask. Toronto number 12. Half the distance to goal line. First down.
Well, Matt Dunnigan in our panel knows Joffrey Reynolds well. Brought him into the Calgary Stampeders organization, and he knows how tough he was, and told us this week that Joffrey Reynolds is as tough as they come. You can see the face mask right there on Adrian Smith.
First and goal from the 9. Back to Reynolds. Right side. Cuts back. Reynolds fumbles. Calgary looks like they're on it in the end zone. Kenyon Rambo has the touchdown.
just like you draw it up if you're a Calgary Stampeder fan. Get to the outside, get an opening down to the goal line, and then just kind of fumble it forward to your teammate, Kenyon Rambo. Nice, good run from Joffrey Reynolds. Bounces it outside when Kevin Ivan steps in that hole. That gets him down to the goal line. A hit right there from Kenny Wheaton drops the ball out of there.
So the Argo bounce goes Calgary's way for the first major score of the game. Rambo's second touchdown. And Niagara Falls, Ontario native Sandro DeAngelis with the extra point. Stampeders draw first blood tonight. Touchdowns this year have come against the Argos. The Stampeders trying to hit the halfway mark above 500 for the first time since 2000. And they have the 7-0 lead. Capitalizing on an Argo turnover.
Well, a couple of turnovers for the Argos now, and can't give them excuses, but that short week, never know, creeps up and gets you.
Here's Livingston on the return, flag down, and Livingston met by Jeremy Southern.
You mentioned earlier, Chris, that the Toronto Argonauts have a good record when they're coming off that short week like they are after their game in Edmonton where they had to take the red eye back. But a couple of things start to deteriorate a little bit when you get tired. One is tackling drops way off. The other is your attention to detail. Hanging on to that football right when you're about to take a hit. Both Robert Baker now and Damon Allen have put the ball on the ground, and one of those turnovers turned into a touchdown.
It's a team that played a tough game Saturday night. The red-eye home day off Sunday, although many of Mike Pinball Clemens players ended up watching film at the Argo headquarters in Arundel. But one day of practice, a walkthrough yesterday. It is a very short week, while the Stampeders played on Thursday, and they spent a few days in Kingston.
Holding Toronto 25, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Sean Millington drawing his first penalty since returning from retirement on that kickoff. So at the 15-yard line.
You know, and you know, I was joking with Sean Millington about it, and you know, if anyone can do this, Sean Millington can do it. He's been that kind of player throughout his career. But it's a little different when you're thinking about it and you're out there getting hit.
This play doesn't get off. A personal trainer, I mean, if you see Sean Millington,
yeah, I mean,
you say that guy's in shape.
Yeah, no question. I mean, he is in shape. He's been working to get back in game shape for some time. He's been thinking about this for a while, so this didn't just happen a couple of weeks ago. But he's all of a sudden walking kind of gingerly.
Toronto 59, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Right guard Mike Mihalik moved early. 3 times the Argos have started in this game already inside their 15, and now they're backed up to the 10.
Well, and they've moved the football away from their own end zone, but then fumbled it.
So first and 15, Toronto. From the goal line, they screen it to Avery. First man misses, and John Avery is up to the 25, close to a first down, as Avery eluded the initial tackle from Brian Clark.
This is where you put John Avery, and John Avery lines up here beside Damon Allen in the shotgun a bunch during the game, and all he'll do is block. And then every now and then the Argos will throw this play into the mix where he looks like he's going to block and then slides out and catches that little screen pass, trying to deceive the defense, give them the same look you've seen all game, and then change the play.
So a productive start for Avery, and a first down. Stamp show blitz, but looked like they were offside. Tony Miles brought down at the 32. Kobe Reinhardt on the corner made the tackle.
Only a couple of times in his career as Damon Allen, and we're talking 21 years now, has had a completion percentage over 60. And there's his pace for this season. He has not thrown for 5,000 yards in a year, although he's been close and hasn't played every game in those years that he was close. A 38-11 touchdowns to interception is very impressive and would be a career best.
Offside. Calgary, 38. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
George White offside, so 1st and 5 for the Argonauts. His highest touchdown total was over a decade ago when he had 34, but again on pace for 38. In fact, the Argos only had 18 touchdown passes all of last year. Allen has 17 through week 8. And a carry for John Avery to the 35, where he is about a foot short of another Toronto first down.
And when you look at Damon Allen's numbers, there's his touchdown passes, 18 last in the CFL a year ago, and this season 18 already. And you mentioned the 300-yard games. Basically, Damon Allen has been over 300 yards in 4 games. They've played 8, but he's only played 7 full games because he missed part of the Winnipeg game and didn't start versus Montreal.
That Montreal game, he played a half as he sneaks for a first down, and he had 260 yards and a half.
Yeah, and I talked to him about that before the game, because you can look through Damon Allen's numbers, and Damon Allen has played the Calgary Stampeders 26 times in his 21-year career, and only twice in those 26 has he thrown for over 300 yards. Damon Allen has always won games with 190 yards through the air, and he had 65 along the ground. But this year, he has such command of that passing offense that he is putting up some big numbers.
Argos have a first down. They've moved it to the 36. Allen with time. Outlets. Baker puts his head down. Runs into Reinhardt.
And I think, Chris, if you talk to Damon Allen about the reason for that, he would probably, the first name that would come up would be that man, Ken Austin, his offensive coordinator, who has put a system, a passing system in to the Toronto Argonaut offense that makes Damon Allen, forces Damon Allen to learn the system and be part of it, rather than go out there and just physically try and win games with your athletic ability. Now Damon Allen is being forced by Ken Austin to play within that passing system, and it's made him a better player.
2nd and 1. And Allen will sneak and get a fresh set of downs. The guy on the other sideline is watching this carefully, and he's always learning from Damon Allen.
To me, the number one thing that Damon has been overlooked at as far as is his winning. I mean, we all know he has the yards passing, the yards rushing, and he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever put on a jersey. But the fact that he's won championships and just how I guess the level of the teams before Damon and during Damon, as far as he's increased their winning percentages, and I mean he's done great things here for the city and the franchise here in Toronto.
Tremendous mutual respect. Allen has a first down, looks to the right side. He has Tony Miles, and Miles ducked the tackle and gets to the 45-yard line. And yesterday, Henry Burris said, he'd like to be a lot like Allen, and he thinks he is more like Damon Allen than any other CFL quarterback in the league.
Yeah, and I agree with them. They're very similar in a lot of ways. Both can run effectively. Damon Allen, the all-time leading rusher in CFL history from the quarterback spot, but Henry Burris can certainly do that, coming off a 96-yard rushing game versus Montreal, and both athletic quarterbacks.
Another first down as the Argos engineer an impressive march. Allen looking for Arlen Bruce, who couldn't scoop that one. Delivered on his shoe tops.
Well, Damon Allen had in his mind to go back to Arlen Bruce. He thought he may catch the Calgary defense sleeping on the backside. Full roll for Damon Allen to his left, go back across the middle. Had he gone to Robert Baker, who was running a corner route to the play side, he was wide open in a one-on-one with George White.
So at the Stampeder 45, 2nd and 10. 3 receivers wide side. Allen looks the other way, and that ball incomplete, but drawing a flag, Reinhardt bumping with Miles.
Kobe Reinhardt was in such good position that he had nothing but to climb up the back of Tony Miles. He didn't have any other space. That's how close he was when Tony Miles ran that corner route. You could tell that Kobe Reinhardt has done his homework. This is a guy who doesn't know a lot about Tony Miles.
Forward pass interference. Calgary 28. First down.
This is the first time that Kobe Reinhardt will play against, or has played against, Tony Miles, because it was Ben Kelly in game 1 between these two teams, and he was pretty tight coverage there and just had to interfere with him.
Ben Kelly could be back for the Stampeders next game on Labor Day. First down, a pump, and a go. Looking for Miles. He's got it! To the goal line, touchdown! Tony Miles.
A sequence of plays designed to work on a one-on-one matchup between Tony Miles and the newcomer on the corner, Kobe Reinhardt, and why not test him? Curl on the first down, and Kobe Reinhardt is right there. They come right back on second down, fake the curl with the pump fake and go up over the top, and what an adjustment by Tony Miles.
5th touchdown of the year for Miles, and 3 of them have come against Calgary. Prefontaine adds the extra point. We're tied at Rogers Center. Textbook 95-yard drive by the Argonauts, capped by a 35-yard Tony Miles touchdown catch.
And Tony Miles with a great extra effort when the ball arrived, and that's not surprising for a couple reasons.
Fontaine with that heavy left leg, and Tony Stallings from his 10. Good head of steam. John Williams helps bring him down as he crossed the 35.
Not surprising for a couple of reasons with the effort at the end of this play from Tony Miles, because oftentimes when you get back-to-back plays working on one individual on the field, it'll be the receiver who would have called it. Tony Miles likely went into Damon Allen and said, look, let's set him up with a curl. He's a newcomer out there. He's not seen what I can do, and then go deep on him. And you see that great adjustment by Tony Miles, because if you call the play, you want to make it work.
So the Stamps start at their 36-yard line. And Burris guns it over the middle. There's Geronimo. Nick Lewis with his first catch of the night.
Wasn't a very big window to get that football through, and that intangible that people have been talking about with Henry Burris in the passing game in Calgary, get a good chance to take a look at the confidence there, because Kevin Iben was very close to breaking on that football. Wheaton wasn't far off either, and Nick Lewis was right in that scene.
18 for Nick Lewis, top rookie a year ago, and Burris goes to the hurry-up. First down, again over the middle, and he goes to his other super slot. I was wondering when we were going to call those two names, Nick Lewis and now Jermaine Copeland.
I talked to Orlando Steinauer about this receiving core in the Calgary Stampeders, and Steinauer had an interesting name for him as Copeland's the #2 receiver in the middle. He's just going to break over, be right on the hash mark. Orlando Steinauer called this receiving core the next generation. He said, no longer do you look at a receiving core and you see one guy that's about 5'10". There's not very many anymore. He said, now, with the Calgary Stampeders, we're really seeing a look at the next generation. Jermaine Copeland, who stands 6'2", 200, but can run. Nick Lewis, who's up at 205 pounds and can run. I mean, you're seeing big, strong, physical receivers in the league more and more, and Orlando Steinauer knows how potent those two slot backs can be, Copeland and Lewis, the inside receiver positions.
Copeland #3 in the league in receiving, and Lewis is 4th. So it's not just about Henry Burris, as it's not just about Damon Allen, because both quarterbacks have terrific cores to work with. Lewis and Copeland providing first downs. And the ball to the 46. Here's Fletcher on the blitz. Picked up, and Burris throws a strike to Brett Ralph. And a completion, another first down at the 34.
It was picked up on the outside, and it's a good example of Burris. He knows he has one target with the blitz coming from Michael Fletcher, and that's to get it out there to Ralph in a hurry. because that you only have about 2 steamboats when the blitz is coming.
And Burris continues to operate without a huddle on this drive, trying to answer the Argo touchdown. Again, Argo show blitz, flags down, and that pass is caught by Lewis, close to another first down.
You know, and right now it appears that the Calgary Stampeders, when you talk about matchups, are working on Kenny Wheaton. That's about the 4th play in a row, whether it be Nick Lewis or Jermaine Copeland, that they've gone after Kenny Wheaton. Now, Kenny Wheaton is in his 3rd year and can step up and make you pay for coming after him.
Yeah, defensive player of the week to boot.
Yeah.
This one coming back as Stampeders were offside.
Now you saw the 9 tackles.
Calgary number 80, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Saw the 9 tackles from Kenny Wheaton, and as a defensive back, not a stat you necessarily want to have. If you're making lots of tackles, it could mean either that the running game is effective for the other team and you're having to stop running backs, or they're picking on you.
The one thing you know about Kenny Wheaton, when he tackles you, he makes an impact. He's a headhunter back there. 1st and 15. Burris stepping up, looking deep, gutting it, and overthrowing Rambo, and he threw that on a rope.
Yeah, he put a lot on it. And Steve Verrado, when you talk about the game plan and the setup and going after Kenny Wheaton, I mean, this is a guy who's seen it all. There's not much that defenses can throw at Steve Verrado that he hasn't seen before, and he's trying to get the signals out right now to Henry Burris. And if he sees something in the cover game from Kenny Wheaton from a film ago, and it's not something I'm sure that'll last for long, but go after it and see if you can make it happen.
2nd and 15. From the Toronto 39. 5 receivers, draw Reynolds. And Reynolds gets 4 to get DeAngelis a little closer field goal.
See if they continue in the next series. The Calgary Stampeders have the ball going after Kenny Wheaton, who looked like he's maybe even limping a little bit as he heads to the sideline. At the very least, taking his time.
So one of the great stories of the first half season, Sandro DeAngelis, who answered all the concerns about a rookie kicker in Calgary, 20 of 22. And he'll attempt from 44 yards out. Juha's the holder. And not much question about that. Boy, he has been terrific, and let me just tell you, he's a big fan of Glenn Suiters. Talked to him yesterday. He was all excited, as he usually is, after he makes a field goal. He's reading Dave Ridgway's book, and I didn't realize you played such a prominent role in that book.
Well, the book was called Robo Kicker, and Sandra was telling me that he was having a good laugh with some of the anecdotes that were in that book and some of the pranks I used to play on the kickers and the linemen. And he said his favorite being when I took all the 5s out of the deck of cards when Bob Pulley and Roger Aldag were playing crib. If you've ever played crib before, you know you need the 5s. And they flew from Regina to Toronto without the 5, saying to each other, you know, Bob, I just can't get a hand. And Sandro said he had a great laugh with some of the fun that we had in Saskatchewan. He said, you know, that's what the game's all about. And that's how Sandro DeAngelis approaches this game. He's got great passion for it, and he loves to be out there. He cherishes every minute on the field. He says, I'm doing what I love. I'm getting paid for it. It doesn't get any better than this.
By Molson Canadian.
Well, both offenses are moving the football, as you can see by this yardage. But the reason why you got a low-scoring game is that neither team has been giving up the ball in their own end through turnovers, except Toronto once, and it resulted in this.
Key stat for the Stamps is the 3-point lead. Here's Tom Higgins with our John Lou.
Well, Tom, your offense has been getting so much good press, but it seems everybody underestimated your defense, especially without Demetrius Maxey.
Well, some young men have to step it on up anytime you do have injuries, but there's no excuse. We're going to line up. We're playing hard. We're not beating ourselves. We're creating some turnovers. That's why the game is the way it is.
Yeah, considering how close it is, do you get the sense that this game's going to be decided by giveaway, takeaway?
Oh, usually is, and it probably CFL style come down to the last team who has the football.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
Speaking of stepping up, how about Trae Young from Matt?
He's from
Montana. That's right. And this is a Big Sky hit right there on John Avery. The Stamps were physical in that first half and lead 10-7.
Ready for the second half at Rogers Center, but before we kick it off, let's join John Lou.
Pinball, the message to the guys, try to keep the football off the ground this half.
Well, you know, I think those are the kind of things that come when you're on a couple of days layoff. You get a little bit sloppy, but we just want to keep pressing, playing hard. It's a football game that we didn't play very well in the first half, but we're very much in the football game, and so we got a great chance over the next 30 minutes to play a good, sound game.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
A couple of Argo turnovers in that first half. One a Damon Allen fumble. Let's see how these two quarterbacks, who have so much mutual respect, matched up in the first half.
Well, it's the master and the student, I guess, in Henry Burris and Damon Allen. Burris looking up to Damon Allen as one of his role models at the quarterback position, and the numbers are fairly close. Can the student snap the pebble from the master's hand in the second half?
Now, why aren't I really familiar with my Karate Kid trivia? DeAngelis, who came out during the half to practice a bit after that miss, starts proceedings, and away goes Bashard Livingston. And he is met by John Grace at the 40-yard line. Well, they did have the 95-yard scoring drive for a touchdown, a Tony Miles reception.
Well, they put their, when you look at those possessions, their offense put their defense in a bind with the 2 turnovers, and that's probably what Ken Austin addressed at halftime. Like, even if you don't move the football into scoring range, at least let's punt it away and keep the field position advantage.
First down at their own 40. Fake to Avery, and Allen has Tremblay, his second catch, and a first down at midfield. Shane Walton, the tackle.
No, not surprising when you heard Mike Clemens talk about the fatigue factor on a short week. J.F. Tremblay may get some more reps and some more catches in this game, with maybe Arland Bruce, Robert Baker's legs a little heavier than normal and a little tougher for them to shake the defensive back and get open. So may see the ball in J.F. Tremblay's hands a couple more times.
Ball on Calgary's side of half, and an Argo first down. They fake the swing pass and set up the screen, and Avery can't bring it in.
You know, and maybe that's another one in John Avery. We've seen a lot of John Avery in that first half. John Avery was 5 for 36 rushing and 3 for 29 receiving the football in a half of football. That's more production than normal. So maybe his legs are a little fresher as well.
Well, he has been calling for the ball, wanting to touch it 15 to 20 times. He is on pace for that tonight. 2nd and 10. Allen has a lane, steps up. John Grace was there. The ball comes loose again. Stampeders are on it again. And Lawrence Deck has it. Allen was hit by Raheem Abdullah, I believe, and that separated him from the ball.
Well, the first one was Trae Young in the first half that hit the ball out of Damon Allen's hands, and this one looked like Raheem Abdullah, and I'm not so sure. I was wondering if Damon Allen may have been down on the play. It looked like the hit came late. Now, was Damon Allen's knee on the ground before Raheem Abdullah hit him? He's going down now by contact. No, well, it's very close.
Yeah, that's one of those you'd like to have the instant replay. Brian Clark, the initial hit, and Abdullah jarring the ball loose and producing the 3rd takeaway of the game for the Stampeders. And Burris in the flat. And Jordan Younger closing quickly
on Kenyon Rambo.
Well, you know, the officials didn't hesitate on the fumble. They gave the football to Calgary Stampeders. I know their fans are happy with the ruling, but we'll take one more look anyway. I mean, Damon Allen, is he down by contact, I guess is the question. There's the contact, there's the knee, here comes the hit. And I think that was a little bit late. Now, we had to look at it 3 times to get it. Looked like he may have been down.
Third takeaway for the Stamps, 14 on the year. They came into this night last to the CFL in that department. Over the middle, intended for Tony Stallings, and Kevin Ivan bumped him before the ball arrived, and a flag is thrown. And like a play in the first half, when Calgary was called, the coverage was too tight.
Well, yeah, and you know, that time it was blitz and engage.
Forward pass interference. Toronto 35, 10-yard penalty, first down.
And basically that means that right here you're in charge if you're a linebacker of covering backs out of the backfield. So you see Kevin Ivan now, he's got to pick up his man, gets there a little early with that bump in the shoulder, and Stallings doing the great Oscar nomination.
He sold it.
Yeah.
First down, fake to Reynolds and a sidearm in the flat. And there is Stallings. Brought down by Kenny Wheaton. Another flag. Otherwise, another first down for the Stampeders.
I'm wondering when we were going to get a chance to watch Tony Stallings play a little bit. He had a good preseason. Game 1 in the preseason, Stallings against the Saskatchewan Roughriders touched the ball 5 times, had 55 yards. It's a pretty good average. And you know, with Joffrey Reynolds in the lineup, you knew he wasn't going to see a whole lot of action, but...
Offside. Calgary 82, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Nick Lewis jumped. And that negates the Stallings catch and first down.
They can work Stallings into the offense. That gives Steve Barato and Tom Higgins yet another weapon. And as they say on the street when they're shooting hoops, the guy's got skills.
He also has a 3-meter python that he brought to the clubhouse one day, and I wonder if he was using that as a little influence to get more playing time. It got everybody's attention, that's for sure. Here's a completion, and Gerald Harris with a catch at the 50. Gets back to the original line of scrimmage. It'll be 2nd and 10.
2nd and 10 is a challenge for Henry Burris. It's a challenge for any offense, but more so against the Toronto Argonauts, because 2nd and 10 is how they make their living. So that's where Steve Barato has to dig deep in his playbook and say, okay, this is Rich Stubler's. Now I'm playing on his turf. Now I got to figure something out in a hurry here.
A 6-pack of receivers. Burris escapes. And has no, he does not have a completion. Harris either couldn't get the foot down or juggled.
A couple of close calls the officials have had to make in this second half. The fumble by Damon Allen, and now this one, and I think they may have got this one right. Burris on the run to the outside. There's the catch right there with the left foot clearly on that white stripe.
Brings up 3rd down. And Burke Dales. Uh-oh. Fake. And Brian Clark is going to be stopped short. Well, Tom Higgins in a gambling mood, and it doesn't pay off.
Play Safeway $1 Million Touchdown to Win. If your name appears, you've won a trip for 2 to the Omni Orlando Resort at Champions Gate. Flights courtesy of BelAirTravel.com. Swipe your club card at Safeway today.
Hey, football fans, vote for the Rogers Player of the Game and you can win it.
Higgins here, right is Brian Clark. Right here is Scott Coe. He's going to be the lead blocker. This is designed play, but it's a play you practice every day in practice, and you get a chance to run it. Sometimes a guy who's not used to carrying the ball shows you he's not used to carrying the ball.
Whoops. And so Toronto takes over on the Calgary 49, and Damon Allen is sacked back at the 50-yard line. So the defense tries to make that decision not look as bad. You know, I talked to Tom Higgins about his gambling yesterday. He says, I'm a very conservative coach, but every once in a while.
Well, he loves the reputation of being conservative and then try and surprise teams with the odd gamble, and you have to have it in there. I feel a little for Brian Clark. I know what he's going through, because you think all year about the one chance you're going to get a chance to run the football as a defensive player, and then when you do get the football, kind of stumble and fall and doesn't look too sweet.
Second and a bunch, 18. They go to John Avery. And Avery will be stopped at the Calgary 48. He gets 10 back. But it brings up third down.
I would suggest that Brian Clark will likely have a great second half here on the defensive side of the ball now, because
like he did against Montreal last week.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's got a lot of pride, great athlete, and you just don't get a chance to run the football at all, and you get that one chance and a little excited and stumble and fumble and fall down.
Prefontaine angling that kick. It'll end up in the end zone. And Rambo will concede the single point. So it's a 2-point Calgary lead. Carrying the ball, do what you do best, and that's what Brian Clark did the very next play.
Yeah, he just went right back and said, okay, now I'm on the defensive side. Now I know what I'm doing. I go in there and get a sack.
And for every sack in tonight's game, Purolator will donate the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Every sack helps Purolator tackle hunger across Canada. It's been a big year in sacks for Calgary. And tonight, without one of their sack masters, Demetrius Maxey.
Yeah, Edmonton jumped out to an early lead in that race, and Calgary has climbed back into it, right on their heels.
10-8. And the Stampeders start from their 35. Reynolds for 4 yards, chasing Charles Roberts in the rushing derby.
And the concerns over his stinger problem appear to be behind him. He's got a bit of a neck brace on to help with that, and that's the race you're talking about, Chris. Charles Roberts with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers coming into this game tonight at 7:01, and Joffrey Reynolds right on his heels.
And Reynolds quick to mention yesterday that Roberts had 32 more carries. So everybody lobbies for the ball when you're running back in the CFL. Burris in trouble. There's another sack and maybe a fumble. Henry Burris down, and Eric England and company celebrate.
Interesting technique from the Toronto defense. They're going to send pressure with 3. They got Kevin Ivan right here, and I believe that's Byron Parker right there. Now they're just going to wait and spy Joffrey Reynolds. Joffrey Reynolds steps up. They've got him in coverage. If he doesn't step up, they go after the quarterback. So Byron Parker slides in there along with Jonathan Brown, Eric England, as they get a chance to collapse the pocket with their linebackers spying the backs out of the backfield.
Cantor had his ankles, and England took him high. Gets credit for his 5th sack of the season. Livingston from his 29. And brought down quickly by Kobe Reinhardt and company. 49-yard punt and a 4-yard return. Well, seeing is not believing. Invasion, Wednesdays this fall on CTV. Last time here at Rogers Center, we had a second half invasion of bugs that Damon Allen admitted after the game really impacted on his concentration. I mean, it was a full swarm here, but fortunately not a return tonight.
They weren't home field bugs.
Avery, and nothing there. Terrence Patrick, one of the new defensive ends.
One of the guys on that offense for the Argonauts we haven't talked a lot about tonight is Arland Bruce. Usually about now, the man who leads the team in receiving and all-purpose yards has had a few big catches and been able to get deep. And he just hasn't been able to shake coverage quite as easily tonight.
He had the 89-yard touchdown Saturday in Edmonton. Also dropped one that would have been a big play. Allen, Tony Miles. Maybe it's Tony Miles' night. His 5th catch. Brought down by Lawrence Deck. Miles in quest of his first 100-yard game of the year.
Well, that's the luxury Damon Allen has. If Arland Bruce isn't going, then he has Tony Miles, one of the most underrated receivers in the league. And Tony Miles makes tough catch after tough catch, that time going back against his body and against the flow of traffic.
14 for Miles, and he has pushed over 100. 104 for Tony Miles, and now Baker underneath. And Robert Baker hit by John Grace and company, drew a crowd, and hangs on near midfield.
You know, I have been impressed, though, with the Calgary secondary. And, you know, I talked to George White, one of the linebackers in the group, about that secondary, and he's a guy who's a veteran, has been around. He said, you know, Kobe Reinhardt is a great player, and he's got to learn how to be great in our system. But you look at the athletes back there, including Trey Young at safety, and Nate Terry, who's got a little experience to move outside. Lawrence Deck, the extra defensive back. If you can play within the system and use that athletic ability, you'll have some success, and they are right now.
2nd and 5. Here's Tremblay with a catch. J.F. Tremblay. Another Argo first down to the 37. And he has been a new weapon in the Argo attack tonight.
One of the toughest routes to cover, all you have to do is ask Jock Climbing about this one, is a crossing route. And the reason for it is that because defensive backs by design will line up on the outside shoulder, because in most man-to-man coverages, they know they have a safety in the middle to help them. They'll line outside, and then the receiver runs away from you, and you're in chase.
First down, Avery left side, found some running room. And finally dropped at the 26. Another Argonaut first down.
Toronto Argonauts now trying to put some balance into that offense. And it's always a game about adjustments at halftime. Clearly, Mike Clemens has decided to make sure he sticks with offensively John Avery and involve the running game, provide Damon Allen with some balance, so that maybe play action down the road works better.
Well, Mike Clemens has said the more well-rounded we are, the more things we'll be able to do. And Avery's running has helped augment this offense tonight. Pass underneath, and that's a catch by Baker with Scott Cole all over his back. Cole, who has been hampered by a hyperextended knee the past few weeks, really hasn't had a lot of defensive reps over the last couple of weeks.
Well, when Scott Cole is tackling Robert Baker, it means the Calgary Stampeders are playing a zone defense. If they ever play man-to-man, the matchup will be George White, the linebacker, on Robert Baker.
2nd and 4. Short drop and a quick hitter for a first down. Back to Baker again with Brian Clark there.
Clark was on one side and Scott Cole again on the other. And again, because it's not George White whose guy is going to adjust to Robert Baker in a man-to-man situation, you can tell it's going to be zone. There right is Brian Clark. And Brian Clark is the inside man in the zone. See him drop to a spot, see the quick hitch and get out there in a hurry.
Just over 3 minutes remaining in quarter number 3. Damon Allen's hit on his last 7 passes. Looking for number 8 into the end zone. And Arlen Bruce couldn't bring it down. Well, you've been waiting for them to call number 5's number.
And he was wide open on Lawrence Deck. The perfect call. They've gone with some inside hitch passes, and this time they get Arlen Bruce all set up. Bruce is right here and is going to go corner. And watch how open he is on Lawrence Deck. One-on-one, Deck takes the inside away. He settles his feet. When your feet stop moving, you are done as a defensive back. And that ball just slightly overthrown from Damon Allen. Not by much.
Arlen Bruce, who has touchdowns in the last 2 Argo games. That close to making it 3 straight. Jeremy Southern is the injured Stampeder getting attention.
That you saw for Lawrence Deck, one of the old rules for a defensive back. If he's even, he's leaving.
I've been waiting for that. That's the first time this year. We'll take a timeout. Southern to the Calgary sidelines on his own. Looks like he'll be all right. The Toronto Argonauts in position to take their first lead of the game. Down by 2. Looking at 2nd and 10 from the Calgary 13-yard line. Allen flushed. Robert Baker to the 5 and shoved back. What was his forward progress, and a late flag has been tossed, and Chad Folk is arguing the Argos case, which would indicate this one's going against Toronto.
Boy, this is making it up as it goes along for Damon Allen, because he wanted to go backside on that play in the one-on-one to Tony Miles. Tony Miles one-on-one turned into double coverage, and he had to start making it up and adjusting on the fly.
They're going to measure to see if Baker's forward progress got him the first down, and it did. Now let's sort out the penalty marker.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Toronto 56. After the play, 15-yard penalty, first down.
And so that's why Chad Folk was pleading the Argos case.
Well, Jude St. John chased the official all over the field to tell him something for his buddy Chad Folk. We'll take a look at it. Now, Robert Baker, now look from the right of your screen. You're going to see Chad Folk right there. And that's called cruising for the offensive lineman. If you're standing around the pile, like Terrence Patrick is on this play, watching, you get your head on the swivel.
So at 1st and 10, that ball in the air, and it picked off. John Grace has it, and the Argos have coughed it up again. 3 fumbles and now an interception.
And it turns into a bad penalty for Chad Folk, because with the ball down on the 1 or 2 yard line, the Toronto Argonauts are running the football. Because of the penalty, here's Mr. Grace. Because of the penalty, they have to throw the football, and this crossing route to Tony Miles, a little bit of a high throw from Damon Allen. It goes up in the air, and when it's tipped up, 3 things can happen. 2 are bad for an offense.
So a 6-minute drive comes up empty. John Grace, who was the defensive nominee out of the West last year, with the interception. And now Burris has Brett Ralph a first down at the 29-yard line.
You know, Chad Folk is over there, and he's cruising around trying to stay aggressive on the play. He's not been a dirty player in his time, but that was a crucial penalty. Even if the Calgary Stampeders do not go down and score, they take the field position back. They've already started to do that. There's the penalty one more time. Clearly the play was over. That becomes a big one, because that ball down on the goal line changes the offensive mindset.
Here's a quick hitter to Copeland, who couldn't one-hand it, with Kenny Wheaton in the neighborhood. For John Grace, his first interception this year. He had 3 last year, 2 went for touchdowns. Brian Clark indicated to me early on this year that that might have been the difference between Grace getting the nod and one of the other linebackers, because Grace got those big plays, and that one didn't go for a touchdown, but right now it's erased a possible Argo touchdown. So a big play by a big play Calgary defender.
Well, they've done a little less of it this year, Chris, but they certainly have the potential to break out with a bunch of those big plays.
Here's the pitch to Reynolds. He'll cut it back. I don't know about the way he's holding on to the football, but he gets to the 40 and a first down.
Yeah, I agree with you on how he was holding the ball, but you sure have to love his effort, because that play looked like it was caught for a loss. And as it turns out, I believe he got close to first down territory, if not moved the change. I mean, James, this one's caught in the backfield. Good penetration on the backside by Antonius Bonner. And just second effort and gut and determination from Joffrey Reynolds picks up the first down.
At the 40. And it looked like movement on the right side of that offensive line.
You know, usually when you run an option play like that last one to Joffrey Reynolds, the pitch from the quarterback is a lot sweeter than that one. I'm not sure of the technique of the kind of overhand half pitch, half throw. And then Reynolds kind of had it loose outside. So Calgary Stampeders in a bit of an unorthodox faction. Picked up that one. Pilon got that penalty.
Jim Pilon, the procedure call, 1st and 15. 6 receivers. And by Clifford Ivory. 6 touchdowns in a 2-year period. Clifford still looking for his first pick of 2005.
He had the jump. And this is a team that is down a little bit in their interception totals, but very close for Clifford Ivory there.
That's the final play of the 3rd quarter. And the Stampeders clinging to the lead. Quarters are brought to you by Rhoda, the how-to people.
Well, when you consider there's 2 quarterbacks in this game that coming off big 300-yard passing games, Henry Burris coming off a 400 and then a 300-yard game, the numbers are slightly down. Great defensive effort right now for both teams.
And Henry Burris has to come up with something on 2nd and 15. With the rush on, he escapes and gets it away. Ralph went up for it, but ran out of room and couldn't haul it in, but Burris did well just to get that away.
Well, he really did. Kevin Ivan had the first shot at him, and Kevin Ivan does not miss too many tackles. He was clean on the stunt. Kevin Ivan to the left of your screen hits that hole. Perfect timing. And Henry Burris, great leg strength, avoids that tackle and almost completes that. Just keep them feet moving. And there's Byron Parker.
So rookie punter Burke Dales will kick it away. Livingston, the 37, no yards will be the call. Marte Jenkins brings him down at the Argo bench. So that'll be a 15-yard penalty. And a reminder that in this 4th quarter, you can vote for the player of the game. Text message your vote using your Rogers phone and send to Go CFL. You got a tougher job tonight.
Yeah, and I like a defensive player tonight. Maybe John Grace for the big interception and a key time in this game. Or seen some plays out of Tony Miles, but with both these quarterbacks as hot as they've been, and the game as low scoring as it is right now, almost lean towards a defender. I know that doesn't happen often, but I'm trying to help out here. A couple votes for defensive player.
Well, we only have 18 points on the board, and we're into the 4th quarter. The Argos 3 times this year have held their opponents to less than 20, including their last 2. That was against Montreal and Edmonton. The problem against Montreal, it was still a loss. Allen has Tremblay. You can make a case for him if he has a good 4th quarter.
That's a good point. And you know, when you look at another look at Damon Allen's numbers, well, you can almost vote Damon Allen again too. But you know, Damon Allen is going to, on this play, it's a fairly simple play, but he's going to put Lawrence Deck in a bind because Tony Miles is running a deeper route on the outside with J.F. Tremblay being the drop-off player to the outside, and he's in a bind. Lawrence Deck, if he goes to Tremblay quickly, then it opens up Miles. If he stays on Miles, Tremblay's open on the outside.
Tremblay for 9, so 2nd and 1. And Allen will plunge for the first down. And Abdullah and Baker got a chance to exchange shoves. And nothing develops. And I was going to get back to this because I really believe Mike Pinball Clements got to Baker after yesterday and made sure nothing was going to happen tonight because Baker backed away from that.
Yeah, and you know, Mike Clements is absolutely right in trying to get Baker out of that mindset. We talked about it off the start. When your personal vendettas become part of your game plan mentally, it can take you right out of what's needed to win.
First down, Allen for Bruce, picked off. Trey Young, belted, and Baker got it back. Robert Baker channeled the energy.
That's where you want the focus. That's where you want the focus.
Are they giving Baker the football?
What a hit. First of all, Trey Young with a nice jump on the ball there. Now watch the hit. Oh, big.
That may be the defensive play of the year, and it's made by an offensive player.
Mike Clements understands how physical a player Robert Baker can be. And he is upset. He believes this ball's going back with the Calgary Stampeders.
I think the officials are giving the ball to Calgary. They're going to scrum now.
Ruling on the field is Calgary got the ball, then fumble it again, recovered by Toronto. First down, Toronto.
It is Argo ball.
Yeah, Mike Clemens was upset thinking that it might go the other way, but this was clearly Robert Baker separating the football from Trey Young over the middle. I mean, this is big time.
Whoa.
That's a D-cleaner, baby.
Allen, Tony Miles. And Miles down short of a first down. But that's what they love about Robert Baker. He not only can catch the ball, but he is as physical as any receiver who's ever played up here. Ken Austin thinks he's more physical than Ray Elgard, and I don't know if there's anybody more physical than Elgard.
As long as Robert Baker keeps mental focus, Robert Baker can be a star in a lot of ways. And that was what Pinball Clemens was worried about. It looks like he's okay.
Second and just over a yard. And isn't it interesting that it happened on the very play after Abdullah challenged him and Baker just let it ride?
Well, he listened to his coach, and what Baker did there when he had a chance to get into it, and it would have been nothing more than a pushing match between he and Raheem Abdullah in that case. I'm sure he heard Mike Clements' voice in the back of his mind saying, stay focused on the job at hand. It's about winning, it's about the team, it's about this drive and this play. And then Robert Baker on the very next play, after what could have been a huge turnaround in momentum, a huge turnaround in field position on the interception from Trey Young, comes up with a hellacious hit.
Trey Young's been on the giving side of those hits in his career.
Well, you give some and you take some, and if you haven't, then you haven't been across the stripes. Trey Young jumped up and was laughing about it. He understands it. He's dished it out a little bit. He can take it too.
Have you ever seen an offensive player deliver a blow like that? That was something. And now third down, flag down, as the Argos needed a second sneak to get the necessary first down yardage.
You never know. You know, when a game is on the line and you never know what the big play will be. And if you're giving it 100% all the time, even after something bad happens.
Calgary 48, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Trey Young never saw the train coming. I mean, that is as good as it gets. Show you some of the violence of the game of football.
That's the good violence.
Yeah. Trey Young had a big play. That was a nice jump on the football from Trey Young.
He'll remember his first CFL interception.
Or maybe not.
First down, Argos. Tony Miles again.
You know, but sometimes the adrenaline pushes you through a game, even though you might be knocked a little senseless. And so maybe Trey Young, he won't will have to check the film after this one's over to remember his first interception. But for the Toronto Argonauts now, very important for them to finish this drive. And Calgary, who had a big switch in momentum with the interception, then lost that momentum immediately with the Baker hit, has now got to try and brace themselves and hold Toronto to just a field goal.
2nd and 4 after the Tony Miles catch, his 8th of the game. Allen, quarterback draw, cut down, John Grace. Big defensive play by the outstanding Stampeders linebacker.
Yeah, he shot out from nowhere. He was behind the mesh, got caught in behind there. He's right here on your screen. Gets caught in behind in a bit of a mix-up and then just slides through. Beats the block. I believe it was Chad Full. Slides through there and makes a huge play for the Calgary defense.
The Stampeder defense has been a little like the Argos reputation. They have bent tonight, but they get tough when it's inside the 25. And Prefontaine comes on.
Bent and been bent.
I'd like to hear Matt Dennigan's reaction to that last collision. Prefontaine for the lead. Off the upright and in. I think you have to call those. Pinball Clements will take it.
Oh, now for the Rogers Player of the Game.
11 of the 21 points scored tonight. Coming off turnovers. Burris rolling and now running. And sliding feet first and drawing an extra penalty on the late hit by Michael Fletcher.
Yeah, and it'll be called every time. Michael Fletcher, after the hook slide from Henry Burris, gets caught. Now, Michael Fletcher probably a little frustrated because he gets caught at the top of your screen right here. He gets caught in the mix. He gets caught on that outside rollout from Henry Burris, loses containment, then tries to hustle back, make amends, and is a little late.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Toronto number 2, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Tom Higgins mentioned yesterday that Burris is running, but he's not getting beat up because he knows when to hit the deck or get out of bounds. He said in contrast to the quarterback he had last year, Jason Moss, who wanted to hit everybody in his way. First down across midfield, the high shotgun snap. Burris taking a long time and taken down by Michael Fletcher.
Henry Burris went with a protection that brought Nick Lewis back in to help block, and it left only 3 receivers down the field. Jermaine Copeland was one of them, Kenyon Ramble another, and he just couldn't find anyone open. The Toronto Argonauts had dropped everybody off. They only had 4-man pressure, and you can see Burris just scrambling around and trying to find. He only had 3 receivers down there, and there were 6 in coverage.
Covered sack, and Fletcher gets his 2nd of the season. 2nd and 12. To the sidelines, and Harris will step out short of the first down. A couple of yards short.
Well, there's always the debate as to whether or not the throw brought Gerald Harris back, or Harris just broke it off a yard too soon. When you need 12, the route has got to be broken at about 14. Then you come back so that you're just in front of the first down marker. And by the looks of Burris' reaction, he was upset with the route run by Gerald Harris outside.
So Burke Dales comes on to punt, and he'll try and kick it out inside the 10. Livingston from his 1. And Livingston comes out of it. And he may go. Martin Jenkins can't get him. How about this? Bashar Livingston, his 12th career kick return.
Not anymore.
109 yards.
Halfway basically through the season, and he hadn't had a touchdown. And a lot of people across the league were wondering what is going on with Bashar Livingston. Well, guess what? He looks okay. His toes on the goal line. Second effort here. And goodbye.
Prefontaine adds the extra point. 108 yards as the Argos lead by 8. The story got a lot more interesting in the last 5 minutes.
Well, it really has. Damon Allen's numbers look pretty good overall. Tony Miles has been his #1 receiver. Burr's numbers down over the last 5 weeks when you look at averaging over 300 yards a game there. And then Livingston just broke this baby open, but all back from the hit from Robert Baker.
Tony Stallings from his 12. Trying to find a seam, and Prefontaine comes up with a hit.
It's infectious.
Is it ever?
It's been a huge momentum switch since Robert Baker put the big hit on Trey Young. Led to a field goal, then it led to this. Calgary Stampeders a little sloppy in their lanes, and if you're sloppy in your lanes with Bashar Livingston, he'll make you pay.
You know, I might be new here, but I can recognize a TSN turning point when I see it. And Robert Baker provided it. Here's Burris on his own. And there's another feet first slide, and that time he just got out of the way of Clifford Ivory. And Henry wants another flag.
And every player on that field now wearing a blue helmet wants to get one of the Robert Baker shots. Livingston, Bashar Livingston can do it with the football in his hand. And we've seen since that guys just going after people and trying to knock them out. Clifford Ivory with a key block on Sandro DeAngelis on this return.
Burris got 14. He gets it complete to Copeland, who reached out, and is that a loose ball? And they're ruling it down and dead at the Argo 45.
Ruling that Jermaine Copeland was down. Now, just an example, Nick Lewis there, after that ball was rolling around, he kicked it. That's legal in the Canadian Football League. Had that been ruled a fumble, and they're still discussing it. Here comes the throw from Burris. Copeland turns, goes down.
Rolling in the field.
That should have been a fumble.
The Calgary ball carrier is down by contact. First down.
Yeah, I didn't see the contact either.
No. The only contact was with the ground. But it's Calgary football at the Argo 46. Just over 6 minutes to go. Let's see if Henry Burris can respond. Rolling right and pumping. And it's Copeland again, and this time he drops it with Ivory bearing down on him.
Well, Copeland got a break there and can't get the handle on that little out on the sideline. Let's see this play one more time because I agree with you, Chris. I don't think Jermaine Copeland is touched. He goes down. The ball was coming out even before he went to the ground. Now, Nick Lewis can kick the football forward like that. If he goes and recovers it, it's still Calgary's ball way down the field.
A lot of people use that old adage, the ground can't make you fumble. It can if nobody else touches you.
That's right. Because Copeland, if it's not touched and goes down, can get up and continue to run. Therefore, if he fumbles the ball while it's on the ground, it's a fumble.
2nd and 10, and it gets noisy here. Burris with some time. Can't hook up with Harris. Good coverage, Byron Parker, the extra DB.
You know, and Byron Parker and Younger on the sidelines have seen this play before. Remember the last series, Gerald Harris ran that out on the sideline. It was about 1.5 yards short as he turned out on that out pattern, and they had to punt the football. Turns to the Brashard Livingston touchdown. That time he extended the route, but this time Younger had already seen it.
And that was Jordan Younger, not Byron Parker, and it is Arlen Bruce, and not Brashard Livingston this time. Better coverage, and the ball at the 20 of Toronto. 15 seconds remaining here. Argos lead by 8. They have outscored the Stampeders 11-0 in the second half. Avery inside, short gain.
Big down for the Calgary Stampeders right now. There's plenty of time, and this game is nowhere near over with 4:56 remaining, but Tom Higgins cannot afford a long drive here. Even if Damon Allen doesn't come away with points, if he gets 3 first downs, Mike Clements knows he punches football. And now Henry Burris has to drive 100 yards, 180 yards, something like that. First downs are key. This is a big down for Calgary.
2nd and 8. Allen swings it out. Here's Avery again. And a good short tackle by George White.
Was it ever?
That's why he led the CFL twice in tackles.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, we talk about it all the time that running backs always will make that first guy miss unless you're as good a tackler as George White, because if Avery gets up to that marker, that stripe up in front of him, that's first down for the Toronto Argonauts, and there's a lot of field on either side of George White. And he brings him down. That's a tough tackle to make.
Avery almost broke White's ankles with the move, but he hung in there and made the tackle. And so Calgary will get the ball back. Decent field position, lots of time. Prefontaine worked it right down to the end of the 20-second clock. Kenyon Rambo trying to enhance that field position. Brings it back to the 47. Clock running with under 4 minutes to go. Henry Burris, who has 5 straight 300-yard passing games, has been held under 200 yards tonight. He's at 175 and under pressure, and may have to do more of this. A first down as he slides into Argo territory.
Joffrey Reynolds there did a nice job of trying to pick up a block and give his quarterback a little more room. Joffrey Reynolds was in a bit of a bind because as he went outside, he wasn't sure if Burris was going to throw him the football or not. And as he gets to the flat, go ahead and run it, guys, to the right of your screen. You can see Reynolds on the play action there. Now, he doesn't know if he's going to throw it, so then he picks up the block right there on Antonius Bonner, holds him off just enough so Burris can get the first down.
5th run for 41 yards. Remember, Burris had 96 last week and some big runs late. Over the middle, Nick Lewis has the catch. Tight coverage, but Lewis beats Kenny Wheaton.
Number 82, Nicholas Lewis.
And the 3-minute warning being given to the benches. An 8-point game, but Calgary not out of it.
For the highlight of the night right now. I'm with you. The hit from Baker.
Henry Burris with 6 receivers out. Looking deep. Looking for Copeland. Jump ball. Touchdown. Jermaine Copeland over Clifford Ivory. And they're within the 2-point convert of tying.
Well, Jermaine Copeland played it cool. Henry Burris put a ton of air under that one, and all he's saying now is, I believe in the receiver down there, and I'm going to think he's going to make the play. Because Clifford Ivory can't be in better position. But he's just hoping that Jermaine Copeland will beat his man, and that's what he did on that play.
5th touchdown of the year for Copeland. Number 13 for Burris. And they're not going to go for 2 with 2:21 to go. You surprised?
I am. Because a field goal either way.
I don't see the downside of...
It's right. I'm shocked at this decision. Because here's the thing. If you don't make the 2-point convert, you're still a field goal away from winning the game. If you make a 1-point convert, you still need the field goal. The only thing Tom Higgins could be thinking here is that a single now means he could punt it through the end zone to tie the game if he gets another possession.
Now, there was a penalty on the convert. It's going against the Argos offside, and now he's going to change his mind because they're taking it half the distance.
Toronto 35, half the distance to the goal line. We're going to repeat the convert.
You know, you got to believe that Tom Higgins dodged a bullet here with this penalty.
Reprieve.
Yeah, because he just, and then he thought about it again and said, well, wait a minute, we got a chance to tie the game now because they may not get the ball back.
You either tie the game or miss and still be within a field goal of winning.
That's right.
So now they will try from 2.5 yards out. Flag down. Picked off. Mike O'Shea, and he can take this back. He'll flip it off. Michael Fletcher. And he'll be brought down. And Nick Lewis and Jeff Pelon bring Fletcher down short. But there is a flag. And what will the call be?
It was close, but Orlando Steinauer looked like he jumped coming off the edge.
And the Stamps get another chance to tie.
Orlando Steinauer had come up. The Calgary Stampeders went with an empty set. 3 receivers on the right, 3 receivers on the left. Steinauer was trying to time his splits.
Offside, Toronto 21. Half the distance to go. We're going to repeat the convert.
Here's a look at it. Steinauer is right here. See how he's wiggling in? Now he's inside that 1-yard zone. Comes off the edge, and he's called on the outside.
Remember a Friday night game 3 years ago when Calgary returned a 2-point convert. Got 2 points themselves, but that interception all for naught. And now from a yard out, Henry Burris sneaking. And is he in? The Stamps say yes, the Argos say no, and no ruling for the officials.
I don't think he got it.
He didn't get there. And it remains a 2-point Argo lead.
Calgary was stopped short of the goal line.
.2:21 left on the clock. Burris doesn't get in. And Toronto, who would have expected the 4th quarter to provide most of the fireworks?
Lots of drama in this 4th quarter. Some big hits, some changes in momentum. And right now it's anybody's game. The Damon Allen and the Toronto Argonauts now have a chance with a long, time-consuming drive to end this baby. Tom Higgins needs another play out of his defense.
Again, Tom Higgins' squad looking for a win to finish the first half of the season above 500. Trying to win consecutive games for the first time in 2 years. The Argos looking for sole possession of first in the East. Bruce fakes the reverse. And Trey Young won't let him out of his sights. And they do converge and bring him down. Well, this was a game that, quite frankly, needed a little jolt of caffeine, and Robert Baker provided it early in the fourth quarter.
No question. So far, the turning point for the Toronto Argonauts, but there's still a lot of football to be played here, and the Calgary Stampeders could have more than one possession before it's over, but they need to play out of their defense.
Yes, 2:11 to go, and even though they didn't make the two-point convert to tie, Tom Higgins' crew within a field goal of winning it. This is where Damon Allen and the Argos offense would like to play keep away. Avery the handoff and short yardage.
You know, Damon Allen almost missed Avery as he hit the line of scrimmage there.
Avery combined now at 95 yards tonight. 52 rushing, 43 receiving.
Last time the Calgary Stampeder defense was in this situation, they got a big tackle out of George White in the open field.
Hey, boss. Well, a huge play in the game as we're under 2 minutes, 2nd and 8. David Allen looks backside. Baker hit. Baker stopped after a very short gain. And once again, the Calgary defense has flexed its muscles. Shane Walton in the face of Baker. Scott Coe gets him out of there because the defense has done its job.
And this sets up another game-winning drive potential for Henry Burris. And they continue to show confidence, but a play out of their defense gives Burris a chance with the football with plenty of time. Doesn't have to force it at 1:42. Now the Argos will take as much time off the clock as they can.
And I don't think Calgary's going to complain about that. You could argue there's almost too much time for the Stampeders. A week ago, they went 45 yards to get into field goal range with 50 seconds left on the clock. Prefontaine delivers a good kick. Back to the 35. Rambo to the 40. And at the 45-yard line, he did it last week. A 38-yarder on the final play of the game. Sandro DeAngelis. He's also kicked a 56-yarder against Toronto.
Well, that shows you he's got the leg. And last week, Chris, you talked about the pressure kick. So Sandro DeAngelis last week showed you he can handle that pressure. Now he just needs his quarterback, Henry Burris, to get him in range, which is about 2, maybe 3 first downs.
The only difference here, tonight, there was a miss. And you wonder if that adds to what goes through his mind. Burris rolling out. And Burris to Brett Ralph across midfield. And very quickly into Argo territory.
And Chris, this changes the philosophy of the Toronto Argonauts. Mentioned earlier on 2nd and long, you're playing into Argonaut land. Now, Steve Barato has a bit of the edge because he knows Toronto has to play out of character. They've got to be more aggressive. If they play off like they like to play, Henry Burris will move in field goal range.
16 for Ralph. Burris back. Gunned it. Gerald Harris, short gain to the 46. So a 4-yard pickup. You're looking at a 53-yard field goal with 56 on the clock.
Henry Burris has to play this one smart. He needs to get close to that marker. Obviously, he's looking for the first down, but he really doesn't need to force it. Gets close enough. Calgary Stampeders can gamble on 3rd down here. They've got time to do it. Get him closer.
You think they need another first down, though?
I do.
Quick header, Nick Lewis, and he dropped the ball. Nick Lewis had beaten Kenny Wheaton and dropped the football.
Again, the Argonaut defense playing out of character to have to play this tight and up there. Kenny Wheaton Gets beat on the out by Nick Lewis. Nick Lewis, the second receiver in the middle here. And watch him run this timing out. Perfectly executed play. This is what I thought Henry Burris might try. Something just to get him to the sticks. He just didn't get the catch. And now he's forcing Tom Higgins to put the field goal team on the field now. And Sandro DeAngelis with a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
They're going to put this down at the 54. Again, he's hit from 56. That was wind-aided. But we know he's got a lot of leg. Can the kid do it again? Just come up short, and Livingston's going to kill the clock. Or as much as he can. And now he'll turn it upfield. And look out! Livingston across midfield. DeAngelis battling to cut him off. And Livingston's on the gas. Maybe not. Bashar Livingston touchdown. Oh, he found a second wind.
I think he was down to his third or fourth wind. The instructions from Mike Clements was to kill as much time as you can and safely run out of bounds. But Bashar Livingston saw the corner and he took it.
And he just tied Pinball Clements' Argo record for all-time kick return touchdowns, and he did it in one night with a 108-yard punt return, and now the missed field goal that took 30 seconds off the clock. 111 yards.
Livingston is going to go about 63 yards to his left first. And he uses his speed to get the corner with a little burst right there. See, that burst gets him outside, so he is now outflanked the Calgary coverage team.
Fontaine just makes the extra point. How many times have you seen a returner kill some time in the end zone and you're wondering, why does he just put the knee down or step out? And I don't think we'd ever see somebody run around like that and then find a crease and go 111 yards.
Mike Clements on the sidelines explaining to Bashar Livingston, I love how it turned out, but you understand why we wanted you to safely run out of bounds. And then Clements says, well, you know what, if he does that, you know what, and coaches will always tell you, if you go against the coach's decision, whether you change a play or whatever they decide, and it works, it's okay. But you better make it work if you're going to do that.
Now DeAngelis just slightly wide and short.
You know, and in this stadium, that kick, I really felt like DeAngelis needed another first down. You know, and that Nick Lewis, as good a player as he is, that out probably gets him in the position that DeAngelis needed right there.
The one he's probably thinking about, or will tomorrow, is the earlier miss that was in his range. Well, once again, we'll have more on tonight's game, all the NHL news, including the Matthias Olin signing and the Danny Heatley press conference in Ottawa. Sports Center coming up next on TSN. Tony Stallings on what should be the final play of the game. Oh, he's going to go for a run. Ray Marios can't bring him down. Oh, he does. And that will do it. No time left on the clock. And the Toronto Argonauts move to 6-3 and are first in the CFL East. Tom Higgins' crew game tonight. They dropped to 4-5 and still looking for back-to-back wins. 25-16, Argos prevail.
TSN turning point. The game was in the balance once again right down until the end. Of Bashar Livingston on a missed field goal by Sandro DeAngelis, a 54-yard attempt. And you just saw it moments ago. This ends up being 111 yards. once he finally was able to get it down into the end zone. And the Argos win their second game in 5 days. 25-16 is the final. A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Coaches Association for the training and development of amateur coaches across Canada on behalf of TSN. Our next game, a doubleheader for you on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Winnipeg is in Hamilton to take on the Ticats. And then a beauty, Montreal taking on the Eskimos at Commonwealth, all starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Wendy's Friday Night Football. The next edition of the TSN Sports Center is next with Dutch and Jennifer. All the news of the day from the world in sports that is coming up immediately. The Rogers Player of the Game as voted by you, Henry Burris, with 246 yards passing, 1 touchdown. The Player of the Game is brought to you by Rogers, your world right now. On behalf of Jock and Matt and Chris and Glenn and the other Chris, this is Dave Randolph saying thanks for watching. You are watching TSN, Canada's sports leader.